Some of them have been great newspapers, great histories. Have been, only this week, 3 newspapers, I believe, were announced they were giving up daily publication. There'll be more. And there's nothing more certain. And I don't think it's really added to the diversity of information of the press. And because I would never in it, or very, very slightly, but the local media in this country, local press, local newspapers, have a great history of contribution to our democracy. And I think it'll be a very sad day if the major ones, if all of them, disappear. So I don't know that they can be saved. They could be saved for the BBC, but that wouldn't be enough, possibly. We really have enormous disruptive technologies, which is the history of the world, and it's fine. But we have to meet that challenge and try and turn it into an opportunity. For instance, the Times. The problem is we ask people to pay for it, but if it's good enough, they will. There's a lot of, they really aggregate it to a large extent, run full news services for free. I don't know how long they can do it. Their advertising is rising, they expect it, but so are their costs. And in fact, there's more advertising opportunities occurring every year, even than there are websites. So the rates stay very low. But it's a fact of life. And we have to treat it as an opportunity. For instance, the Times of London, 7 days a week. We put it on the iPad. We charge for it. Unfortunately, Apple takes 30%, but that's another argument. That can be seen any corner of the world. So maybe there's an opportunity there. Just at your friends, Le Monde can be seen in any corner of the world. There's just, as I say, I think there are some opportunities. They're not easy. We have a lot of people working at them to make attractive versions of our newspapers. You know, with, for instance, the Wall Street Journal. Every single word of the Wall Street Journal, it's a challenge to get through. Is there every day. But we add more photographs, which are of extraordinary quality on the iPad, and we'll get better. But we're dealing in a very complex world with disruptive technologies, and we're suffering at the hand of those. So when it comes to regulation, I just beg for some care, because it is really a very complex situation. The press today guarantees, a varied press guarantees democracy. And we want democracy rather than autocracy. I think we would all agree with that in this room.
I equally agree with you that the whole question of regulation requires very great care, and one's got to try to ensure that one isn't merely regulating what Mr. Lebedev talked about, work produced on dead trees, and one does encompass what's going out digitally. But therein lies a number of problems which I'm sure I don't need to mention to you. But I want to take you back to your recognition that the whole framework runs from that which is unethical or inappropriate, it doesn't really matter what word you use, but not necessarily a civil or criminal wrong, through the civil to the criminal. Now, you may say that the problems of the news of the world are an issue of enforcement as much as anything else, although I might say that external enforcement by the police must be the very, very last rung, because the police have got lots of other things to do, and therefore some enforcement must come internally, and I don't think you disagree with that, because what you've said. But there also must be some mechanism for speedy resolution of complaints, and you don't need me to tell you that there are complaints about what is published, which are short of claims in libel or claims in breach of a civil wrong or criminal wrong. There has to be some mechanism to resolve them, and one would want to encompass as many as possible, including those who decide only to publish but for profit online, within the scheme. Have you considered how that could be organised? And it may be you haven't, and if not, but given that I have the opportunity of
yes, I'm not aware. I should be more aware of all the details of the PCC. I know the number of complaints that we've received, the number that have been either dismissed for the PCC, the number of them been mediated or resolved, and the final complaints that we've had to address and apologise, which are over a number of years very minor. Now, did this take a very long time? I don't know.
Okay.
We should perhaps pick a staff or something. But I don't think it's enough to say profit. If you only make profitable organisations, you can leave out most of my newspapers here. And
yes, maybe instead of using the word profit, I should have said they're doing it for money. In other words, they're in the course of a business.
I think everybody's doing it for money, including the bloggers. They're trying to sell advertising. They're trying to get a bigger audience. You get a thing like the Huffington Post, which started as pretty much a political pamphlet with advertising and broadened itself quite cleverly, but mainly just stealing stories from existing newspapers. They now have a few reporters and blogs, some individual people, but it's a very big thing. Here they have a British edition as well as an American edition, and I don't believe that they're making profit yet, but they're read by many millions of people. The Mail Online, which is unrecognisable as part of the Daily Mail. I think Mr. Dacre doesn't have a computer and said, to someone else, you do this. That just steals. They have their own gossip. They steal gossip from everybody. It's a great sort of gossip site. Or bad, whichever way you look at it. And it comes right up to the barrier of what is fair use of other people's material. They change it a little. But it has tens and tens of millions of followers around the world. But there's no profit in it, according to their public statements. Yet, their hope is for profit. Profit motive, perhaps.